If you're below the 5, it's now a buying opportunity. Hey everybody, so we have a lot to go over. We have to go over some earnings, and then we have to talk about what to watch for tomorrow before the market opens, which I'll get to more towards the end with the indexes and what's going on with the VIX. But let's just focus on earnings right now. Companies that are actually coming out with good news. So TTD basically came out and crushed earnings expectations, revenue expectations. Looks like they're raising guidance a little bit. So you're being rewarded after hours. You're actually over that first 15 minutes and you're already pushing. You know, it's interesting. You're seeing a lot of these kind of tech companies, and I'm going to refer to this as a software company, even though people are going to say it's an application. I think it's very interesting to see companies like this beating earnings and raising guidance. This type of company raising guidance net. So there's something going on here. I'd watch this tomorrow. This is going to be dependent upon what the CPI does, but I like this a lot, and I definitely think that there's a trade there on the long side. Now there's some names that are just imploding after hours. So this RBLX, you can see this Roblox. So revenue were way off, and I would say probably down about 30%. And I'm not really sure why these companies aren't pre-announcing bad numbers. It would just make sense and you'd have more faith in the company themselves. But what you see here is you see this trend line. I have the pre and the post data in. So you can see you're kind of boxed in here and you're breaking. I don't see any reason why this is going to bounce on these kinds of earnings. Now, what you are seeing are huge short positions and then rallies in those short positions, right? That's what you're seeing a lot of. So we saw that today with UPST. That was when we went over last night. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and click all notifications, because what we go over here is really timely. And if you're interested in what's moving in the market, you're probably not going to find someone that's more timely than this channel, in my opinion, as far as specifics. But you see how you ran up to here and then you reversed, right? So if you start drilling down into that, you can see exactly what transpired and how fast something like that happens. So let's just get into it. So you can just see, I mean, it's literally less than a minute before it reverses right on a specific level and breaks. And that was the end of it. You know, it looked like it was going to break here off the open, and then it just exploded up, and then that was it. So that was definitely something that made sense. You rallied up, you came all the way back down, you hit right here, fails, tries to come back down, right? And then you go from there. So I would say that you could get a shot at this rallying tomorrow and then be able to get a trade off. And I think that's very possible. I think it's very possible in this one too. Now, again, we have to go through CPI and how to plan for it tomorrow. We're going to get into that a little bit later, but CPI is going to rule the roost tomorrow. But, you know, coin, again, I'm not really sure why these companies decide that they don't need to come out and pre-announce. I think it was really good that Walmart did it, but, you know, they're talking about streamlining operations, recalibrating hiring plans. I mean, these are the buzz terms, okay? Just to put it in perspective, you know, sales were off by about 5%, but they doubled their loss. So they're supposed to lose $2.68. They lost close to $5. Like, to not come out and state that your expenses are going to be greater than anticipated, if it's that material, you should be saying something ahead of time. Now, if you look at the after hours, this is exactly what I'm saying that you should be looking for. So what you're seeing a lot happen with these names, usually it's the algos and the HFTs after hours, high frequency traders. But what they're doing is they're running these up, and now look how fast this is. You see 2 bars there, right? But take a look at this. Okay, it's really on a minute chart. This happened in less than 2 minutes, where they just ripped you up, right? About 10 points, scare the heck out of everybody, take everybody's stock, and then they just knock out the legs, right? And now you're basically flat. But if you know where your levels are, and what I would recommend that you start using as a level is the previous day's high, you can kind of get a sense for how they're going to act. And when they get to that, you know that you already have somebody else that's sitting up there and maybe they're going to want out. And that's when you're starting to find these little spots where you can get these trades off and get an edge. I would just say that you might want to do that. And just a little bit of advice. I'm noticing that what we're dealing with right now, shorter time frames or longer time frame charts are working. Anything that's like 15 minutes lately, if you're just trying to trade, it's been very brutal with lots of failed moves. But here's a great example of one today that looked like it was going to break on the short side, didn't, failed. But if you were using this daily on Tesla and you saw it break this trend line, well, you kind of knew, and then it broke here, you kind of knew that you could possibly have a short. I kind of wanted to hold off. I'm not really crazy about shorting anything that I was going to hold overnight because of CPI, but then we kind of came down a little bit, bounced, and I thought we would roll towards the end of the day. At the end of the day, it seems like people just really wanted to go some flat on some names, at least towards the close, and then we rolled again. But you had this news today, and this is why it's so important to have these levels drawn and know where they are. But so you have that hit piece that came out by Business Insider on showing a Tesla hitting a dummy, like a child dummy, and saying another car would have stopped. I mean, we can get into the article and not get into the article at another time. The bottom line, it was definitely put out to be damaging to Tesla. And obviously somebody was waiting in the wings and decided to, sell at 17 points within like 4 or 5 minutes. So, it is what it is, and that's just part of the game. But if you take a look here, if you know RSI, I'll link the RSI video at the end. Please comment on this video and let me know what other educational video you'd like to see next. I'm thinking of doing a full options documentary on like how to trade options soup to nuts. I am working on that. It's just taking some time, but if you have some feedback on that, on what you'd like to see with options, that would be extremely helpful to me. Anyway, so here you are at this level. You came all the way back down to here at 13. I was just looking for a way in, and in the trading room, this is where we put it on around 8:43 by the time I was able to get in right around here. And then it just kind of traded up. You have to watch that 8:48 level because we know that's an issue. And then you're trading it up, whether you stay into it or not. Into CPI was obviously entirely up to you. I just point out the tools and the indicators, but you can kind of see what's going on here. So just be careful with this tomorrow. The rub of everything that I'm saying is that when we go into CPI tomorrow, a lot can change. Okay, so yes, we can look at Tesla, we can look at Coin, we can look at RBLX, we can set plans, right? I would even argue that some of these names are really setting up, even though they have these dojis right here, where you just are having uncertainty, like Lemonade crushed. Excellent quarter. It was a trade we did in the room. Some people made money off of it. Other people are flat to down on it. It depends on how you trade. But I think what you're really seeing here is you're just seeing real uncertainty across the board. No one knows what that number is going to be. Okay. And we should probably focus on that for a moment. So the site that I'm using right here is investing.com. The reason I'm using this site is they have an economic calendar. That calendar is free. Okay. And they can even sort by country, and you can even sort by whether it's highly volatile, or what type of volatility is expected with the move. Tomorrow you have 3 events. The 2 biggest portions of CPI tomorrow are going to be core CPI. Core CPI is without food and energy, okay? They want to see that everything else is decreasing, okay? And so if you don't get 0.5 and you get higher, we might have a problem. But more importantly, anything over 8.7 on the year over year, we're going to have an issue. Okay, so if you're over 8.7 tomorrow, you're going to have an issue. You need to come in lower. Now, if you come in lower, okay, you could really see a rally in equities tomorrow because it confirms that we peaked. So you could see people put more money to work. I don't think we're going to see a low number and not rally. Now, I've stated that I'm leaning way more towards being on the buy side, but we're going to go through these. You're not breaking this level. You're just sitting right there. I'm not surprised that you're not breaking it. That's 416.80. You're going to want to remember that tomorrow and watch that, okay? I'm not surprised by that. You're right here on the trend line. You're right there. I mean, like you can't make it up how much you're right there, right? So you're going to have to watch things like this because tomorrow is going to be really interesting. But you have to watch that number at 8:30 if you're trading. You're below the 5. I kind of care I'm below the 5, but I've been below the 5 here and I've been below the 5 here. And if you notice the difference over the past 2 months, if you're below the 5, it's now a buying opportunity, where before, not so much, right? So things are shifting and we need to pay attention to those little minor shifts and go from there. IWM, this is the one that's still above. You're still hanging above that. This is the one that got above its trend line. When you come out of a recession, and we don't know if we're coming out or not. We won't know for a period of time. When you are coming out of recession, these move first. So if you see weakness tomorrow and you're looking to buy, the strongest index is this. I would look at TNA. I think there's a trade there. I would look at TNA on weakness and go from there. And if you're uncomfortable, if you're really uncomfortable, trade these kinds of names. Just trade 3X ETFs that are out there right now, okay? This is one from the newsletter we're still in. Some people may have just moved the stop up to get out, but either way, if you don't get the free version of the newsletter, it comes out 3 times a week. There's a link in the description. But I would focus on that. And I do want to finish with this chart because a lot of people really aren't getting this. And so if you go back and take a look at this trend line, and I hear this a lot, you can't chart the VIX. I'm going to just be blunt. If you're watching this channel, you can chart anything. Anything can be charted. So if you watch these levels, okay, and you go and correlate these April 4th, okay, January 4th, November 5th, you will see that you are on the highs. Okay? They are pointing out these highs in the market. So it's really important for you to kind of get that, okay, that they're lining up almost perfectly and that you're at it again. My hope, there I go again, hoping, was that we were going to break and that would see a rally in equities because you'd see a lot of like the CTA and the futures guys step into the market. So far, what I want to have happen has not, and now we're leaning this way going into equities tomorrow, hoping that we get the right number that we want to see. You know, we all have our expectations, but we just don't know until it comes out. Also, the fact that I've got two little wicks right here, and we know wicks are price rejection, gives me a little pause, because that to me means that, you know, people are buying when you're under this and they're hedging, and you are on those two lines that we just talked about. You're right on that trend line and you're right on that resistance line. So I wish everybody well tomorrow. 8:30 live tomorrow morning. We will be live streaming it, the CPI number, and it's developing a plan. So make sure you subscribe to the channel so you're notified of that. If you're interested in the trading room, up here in the top right corner, there will be a link so you can preview it. Everybody have a great evening and trade to win.